Hello everyone, my name is Oluwadare and I'll be addressing you on corporate reporting. It's not like there's any other fast rule about passing corporate reporting, but I'll just be dropping some tips which have worked for me and I believe has worked for a lot of others out there. So about corporate reporting, the first thing I want to talk about is on you understanding the difference between corporate reporting and financial reporting. Of course, for you to be writing corporate reporting, you must have done financial reporting, or probably while you were in school, must have done something like that. So I don't want you to approach corporate reporting with the same level of knowledge or mindset you approached financial reporting. Of course, they are similar courses, but then the way the examiner expects you to deal with the two courses are different. So let me just go straight to what I'm trying to divert. For financial reporting, what the examiner wants to test is your understanding of IFRS and at least your skills. They want to know if you understand this, how you're able to compute the financial statement and other necessary calculations you have to do. And then yes, they want to be sure that you are aware of the IFRS. But in corporate reporting, you will see that if you go to the past questions, you see that what they are trying to test is your application of the skills you have acquired over time. So in corporate reporting, what they'll be testing will be of course, your understanding of IFRS and your ability to apply IFRS to case scenarios, to life situations. That is why you see there are a lot of case studies on corporate reporting. So you just have to bear that in mind. So because of this, I highly recommend that you go for tutorial on corporate reporting so that at tutorial they'll be able to break down the IFRS, explain it to you and teach you how to apply IFRS to case studies here. I recommend you go for tutorial. And then before we go on to the calculation aspect, I want to say this, that people always make the mistake of concentrating only on the calculation aspect of courses like corporate reporting, financial reporting, SFM. They focus so much on the computational aspect to the detriment of the theoretical aspect. They don't read the theories, they don't read the written part. What they have just done is that you have limited yourself only to the calculation aspect. And the thing is that if you look at exams, what is computational exams, you see that they are usually written aspects. So even if you are finding difficulty with the calculation aspect, because you have read the written, you are able to even out your difficulties, and then your theoretical knowledge will be able to give you some leverage in the area of weakness, in the sense that when you are weak in the calculation aspect, because you have done well with the written aspect, you will be able to put something down, and then it balances out maybe some points you must have lost because you are weak in the calculation aspect. So in essence, just go through your study pack. The written aspect, there are usually a lot of notes at the beginning. Let's say chapter 1 to chapter 7. You see that most of what we have there are notes. I think calculation or a bit of IFRS. There are IFRS in chapter 1 to 5, but then what I'm just saying is that you see that there are a bulk of notes from chapter 1 to 5, and then the last chapter. Let's take note of the last chapter. I've observed that in ICAN study packs, you see that the last chapter is usually a page or two, and they look very, very small, and the tendency to overlook them is very high. But then I've observed that ICAN likes to set questions from these last chapters. Of course, they are very small and the information there is not much, but ICAN knows how to bring out multiple questions from those areas. So just take note of the written aspects of ICAN, of the study packs. Make sure you read them. And you're able to put something down. Just make sure you master them so that even if you are finding difficulty in your calculations, you'll be able to put down something on the theoretical aspect. Now for the calculation aspect, just take note of, for the calculation aspect. So for the calculation aspect, take note of business combinations and consolidation. That is group accounting. Of course, it's just like it is so core to financial reporting, corporate reporting. You just have to understand group accounting and their computations. Then there are other topics, statement of cash flow, earnings per share, yes, earnings per share, and then ratio analysis. One thing about ratio analysis is that whenever I see it in exam questions, I know it is very cheap, but then I don't know. I somehow tend to easily forget the ratio formulas. Eventually, I'll remember in exam, but I don't know. The moment I just ratio analysis, it looks as if I've forgotten all the formulas, but then eventually I'll remember. So I'm just saying, take note of ratio analysis before you go to the exam. I know you know the formula. Try and go over the formula again. One thing about me is that even if I know something, and the fact that I have an exam to prepare, I still go back to read out something that I know. For instance, I know 2 plus 2 is 4, but if I am going to be writing an examination on basic arithmetics, I will still go back and read it with my eyes and see that 2 plus 2 is still 4, because all these things aid your memory. When you go over something that you know over and over again, it sticks to your memory, in the sense that even if you forget every other thing, the fact that you know it and you just refreshed your brain to it, it tends to come easily to you. So just go over your notes. Make sure that you don't say, I know this one before, let me just skip that chapter. Make sure you go through it, because even as you are going through it, it's possible that there are some key modifications that you have never come across in your life that you find out at the end. Okay, so for corporate reporting, I have said a lot of things. Let me just summarize them. I said, take note of the written aspects of corporate reporting. Read those chapters that are majorly notes. Make sure you know them and you're able to put them down when asked. Take note of the last chapters. Those very small chapters in ICAN Prize may not necessarily be the last chapter, but those chapters that you think are small, take note of them. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you is that do not overlook any chapter because it looks small or insignificant. And then I said, take note of the calculation aspect, especially as it relates to group accounting, statement of cash flow. And then I mentioned ratio analysis. And make sure you know your ratio analysis. Make sure you go over the formula over and over again, because ratio analysis, when you say ratio analysis, it's usually just like a bonus to you if you know what you are doing, because it doesn't involve complex calculations like that. Once you know the formula, you know what are in the formula, you're able to quickly do out the information you need for corporate reporting. And then I highly recommend going for tutorial. Go for tutorial on corporate reporting, and that's because of IFRS, because you need to understand the application of IFRS to life situations. They won't be testing what does IFRS make say so. What they'll be testing is your understanding and your ability to apply your knowledge of IFRS to life situations, to practical problems in accounting. Yeah, thank you very much.